Hey everyone, this is Steve from Echo. I thought I would just sit down and do a little video tutorial on the drawing process for animation. What I'm doing here is a character design for a concept that we've been pitching pretty aggressively, but I wanted to talk about drawing for animation. A lot of people have been asking me recently, what is the most important thing about being in 2D animation? Is it Flash? Is it Photoshop? Is it working, on a Cintiq? Is it working on a tablet? Do I need to know Toon Boom or Storyboard Pro? And yeah, having knowledge of those programs and those tools are good and okay, but the most important thing, at least for me and the rest of the team here at Echo, is that you need to know how to draw. Animation, whether you're doing cutout or you're doing the classical work, it all requires drawing. Even though you're pushing the symbols around in Flash or pivot points and Toon Boom, you still need to know how to draw, especially if you're making transitions from pose to pose, or in a sense of classical animation, you need to be able to draw well, going from pose to pose and pushing the acting. And the only way you can get really good at that is just to draw. Everybody seems to focus on a lot of the technical aspects of it. Even schools, don't push the notion of drawing as much as they should. And my recommendation is that you draw from life. Drawing from life does a few things. It teaches you to draw what you see. It teaches you to solve problems before they arise. And when you're drawing what you see, what you're doing is you're getting your hand and your mindset to start functioning, together. And let's say you're in a life drawing session and you're drawing from a model or you're drawing from still life. Well, that same skill can be applied to drawing from a model sheet. Even if you're doing a puppet show or cutout show, however you want to call it, I don't know what those terms are these days. But there will be times where you can't just pop the pose. You have to really draw the in between, and you have to be able to draw things convincingly. So let's say this character has a certain attitude or look to them, or that they have a certain line weight, or there's a certain shape that needs to be met, as you're in between the poses. Well, in order for that to look good or to look convincing that it's still the same drawing, then you have to draw. You have to know how to draw, especially in 2D animation where, or the classical stuff, excuse me, where you have multiple people working on the same production and things, they have to look the same. They have to look consistent, and being able to draw from life is an incredibly powerful skill set. And I think it's the most underlooked skill set in today's industry. Everybody's so focused on, working on in Toon Boom or Flash or Photoshop, or After Effects or whatever animation program, you can get your hands on, or whatever the studios can get their hands on. I mean, it's great and all, but if you can't draw, it doesn't serve you any good. It's like a drummer without a bassist or a guitarist or a singer. It's just a drum beat, and it doesn't make for a full song. So with animation, the thing to keep in mind is that what, at least if you're trying to get into this business, having that strong drawing concept in mind can be a really, really powerful tool. It's a lot more powerful than having a really, fancy glossed over portfolio or website. It can be better than any demo reel, because really you can learn how to animate on the job. You can learn the programs, on the job or in your own time. You don't really need a whole lot to get going, but it's amazing how little, or maybe because it's so simple that, people tend to overlook that. But really, get into the habit of drawing every day. When I was starting out, I used to draw in pencil, and then I had an instructor come up to me, and even with just a ballpoint pen, redrew exactly what I was doing, and just showed me up. But the thing that I took away from that was that he had been drawing with crow quill and pen for a long time, and then using the ballpoint pen. And I'm talking about there's no pencil underline or underlay or whatever you want to call it. He just went straight at it. And I started drawing with pen after that point. And what that forced me to do is to start thinking about what was in front of me, and really start to solve the problems ahead of time. You can't erase ink on paper. It's really hard to do. And if you're out drawing, from life in your sketchbook, you can't really erase that ink line. So you really have to be careful. You really have to pay attention. And that's where, the drawing aspect comes down in animation is you need to pay attention. So my recommendation is that if you're really looking to do 2D animation, draw. That's all you got to do is just draw. Don't worry about actually animating and making things move. Focus on getting really, really good drawings, solid, convincing drawings. Because when you can do that, you can pick up a Richard Williams book. You could, if you get into a studio or somebody who animates, you can sit down and teach them. I mean, go on YouTube, for crying out loud. I mean, the best way to get into this is just to draw, and to draw well. If you can draw well, then you've got a leg up over about 60% of the industry and the people working in it. It's amazing how many people lack that ability to draw. It's so basic and fundamental, but it's incredibly crucial. I hope you found this tutorial, helpful, and I'll see you guys later.